Part 2. A Day in Magnitogorsk. The big whistle on the powerhouse sounded, a long, deep, hollow 6 o'clock. All over the scattered city camp of Magnitogorsk, workers rolled out of their beds or bunks and dressed in preparation for their day's work. I climbed out of bed and turned on the light. I could see my breath across the room as I woke my roommate, Kolya. Kolya had never heard the whistle. Every morning I had to pound his shoulder for several seconds to arouse him. We pushed our coarse brown army blankets over the beds and dressed as quickly as we could. I had good American long woolen underwear, fortunately. Kolya wore only cotton shorts and a jersey. We both donned army shirts, padded and quilted cotton pants, similar jackets, heavy scarves, and then ragged sheepskin coats. We thrust our feet into good Russian blinkis, felt boots coming up to the knee. We did not eat anything. We had nothing on hand except tea and a few potatoes, and there was no time to light a fire in our little homemade iron stove. We locked up and set out for the mill. It was January of 1933. The temperature was in the neighborhood of 35 below. A light powdery snow covered the low spots on the ground. The high spots were bare and hard as iron. A few stars crackled in the sky, and some electric lights twinkled on the blast furnaces. Otherwise the world was bleak and cold and almost pitch dark. It was 2 miles to the blast furnaces over rough ground. There was no wind, so our noses did not freeze. I was always glad when there was no wind in the morning. It was my first winter in Russia, and I was not used to the cold. Down beside the foundation of blast furnace number 4, there was a wooden shanty. It was a simple clapboard structure with a corrugated iron roof nailed on at random. Its one big room was dominated by an enormous welded iron stove placed quidistant, a word we do not use anymore, from all the walls, on a plate of half-inch steel. It was not more than 6:30 when Kolya and I walked up to the door and pushed it open. The room was cold and dark. Kolya fumbled around for a moment for the switch and then turned on the light. It was a big 500-watt bulb hanging from the ceiling, and it illuminated every corner of the bare room. There were makeshift wooden benches around the walls, a battered table, and 2 three-legged stools stood in the corner. A half-open door opposite the entrance showed a tremendous closet whose walls were decorated with acetylene torches, hose wrenches, and other equipment. The floor of the closet was littered with electrodes, carbide generators, and dirt. The walls were bare except for 2 cockeyed windows and a wall telephone. Kolya and welder's foreman was 22, the welder's foreman, big-boned and broad. There was not much meat on him, and his face had a cavernous look, which was rather common in Magnitogorsk in 1933. His unkempt, sawdust-colored hair was very long and showed under his fur hat. The sheepskin coat which he wore was ragged from crawling through narrow pipes and worming his way into various odd corners. At every tear, the wool came through on the outside and looked like a Polish customs officer's mustache. His hands were calloused and dirty, and the soles of the bledginskis on his feet were none too good. His face and his demeanor were extremely energetic. The telephone rang. Kolya picked up the receiver and growled in a husky voice, "What do you want?" "Yeah, speaking. No, I don't know. Nobody's here yet. Call up in half an hour." He hung up, unbuttoned his coat, blew his nose on the floor. I went into the closet and got our emergency stove. It was an iron frame wound haphazardly with asbestos tape and 1/8-inch steel wire. I put it down near the desk, and Kolya took 2 wires and connected them to a couple of terminals on the wall. The light dimmed, and the low hum told of the low resistance of the coil, which was red hot within half a minute. Kolya grunted, took the inverted electric light socket, which served as an inkwell, and put it on the floor under the stove. While he was waiting for the ink to thaw out, he opened the drawer of the table and pulled out some threadbare, dirty papers.
Ну, я надеюсь, вам понравилась часть 3 книги «За Уралом» американского сварщика. В этой части моя супруга имела проблему только с одним словом, ну, помимо русских названий, естественно, это слово equidistant. Она там объяснила уже по-английски. А я тоже это слово впервые встречаю, но его, в принципе, можно, скажем так, догадаться, что это комбинация equal, то есть одинаковый, и distant, расстояние. И даже вот в переводе на русский язык оно таки даже перевелось, одна версия, это equal, достичная, что ли. То есть одинаковая дистанция, equidistant. Это слово может быть не написано, что оно устаревшее, но в ежедневном общении никто так не говорит. Обычно говорят it's the same distance, одинаковое расстояние. Ну все, до встречи в эфире. Всем всего хорошего, счастливо, пока.